Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
Tracking trips with Pick 6 King John Stettin. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit PastTheWire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Past the Wire TV. It is almost, almost one of a lot of people's favorite holidays. Merry Christmas, Michael.
Merry Christmas, John.
It's
good to be back with you, man.
Almost Christmas Eve. Yeah, we haven't done a show together in a while. Schedules have been crazy. I've been dealing with a lot of stuff, as you know.
Yeah, how's that going, by the way, John? The house getting back together?
It's nothing but aggravation, but we'll save that for another day in time. It's just a lot of aggravation, but we're going to use some good racing to take my mind off of that. Your mind is probably already on a good racing.
Yeah.
But, we're coming to the end of the year. The Santa Anita opening day card is always one of the most exciting race days of the year. They draw a lot of great cards that day.
No, and props to them, man. This is one of the best one I've seen in years. I really think so.
Listen, no argument. I mean,
and I give Santa Anita a lot of crap because they have some really bad cards, but man, they really went for it this year, and hats off.
California racing, they've implemented some strict changes and some hurdles and innovations, which for the most part I'm for most of them. But they've struggled with their fields and their field sizes and their cards, and I want them to succeed. I've always loved California racing. I think Santa Anita is one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world. The backdrop of those mountains,
it's incredible,
it's phenomenal. To be there in person is phenomenal. I love Santa Anita, and I hope they thrive. And the card on the 26th, the day after Christmas, is almost like a little late Christmas present for people that love to watch those kind of races. And I do. A lot of people are of the opinion, and I don't really know where you fall on this, Michael, but a lot of people are of the opinion, I'd rather bet 12 horse field, $10,000 claim is all day long, or what's the difference? And they criticize me or question why I gravitate to certain types of cards and certain types of races, like stakes and
yeah. So you're almost comparing it to like a Turf Paradise or something like that, where they are big, massive fields,
right,
at lower level.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And a lot of people say, no, you'll find more value and more of this. And I've got my reasons for gravitating to these kind of days and these kind of races, and that's probably a subject for another show that we could just do a show on why I think, anyway, or it works for me to gravitate to these kind of races and these kind of days when I'm investing my money, and I treat betting, like investment. So we'll save that for another day, but this is one of those cards I love.
Yeah, look, and now I'll just give kind of my 10-second answer. I think you like these days because these are the horses you follow, and these are the horses you invest in throughout the year. If there are
part of it, it's certainly part of it.
There are people because if I bet a Turf Paradise race tomorrow, I'm not going to know any of the horses in that race, but there are a lot of people that do. So I get what they're saying. And John, if you invested your precious time into something like Turf Paradise or Tampa or pick your track, But you've chosen to invest your time in the higher level races. You know them very well, and you've done it for 30 years. So I get why you gravitate to those races. I don't think either one's wrong. It's just making sure you invest the time into knowing what you're doing.
That again is part of it. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that. That's why I said we'll save it for, we'll do an episode on that, but
Sounds good. Sounds good.
there's a lot more to it than that, but those are definitely, valid points. They've got a bunch of stakes. I mean, they start with a grade 2 in the first race. The third race is the San Gabriel, another grade 2. The sixth race, another grade 2 with Country Grammar. They've got Frankie Dettori riding the meet.
Yeah, how about that? Frankie coming all the way over.
Yeah, he announced this is his last year, and he's going to close it. He's starting the end of the year. He's starting his last year at Santa Anita. And it's funny for a rider that's been based overseas his entire career, and it's been quite the career. But he's starting the year at Santa Anita, and the Breeders' Cup is at Santa Anita this year, so next year rather. And he plans to wind up, his career at Santa Anita at the Breeders' Cup. So I'm sure there'll be some, fanfare and celebration for Frankie at the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita. If he wins a Breeders' Cup race on the way out, that will be a phenomenal exclamation point for him, and I certainly wouldn't put it past him.
What do you make of it though, John? Because Dettori's actually never ridden Country Grammar. Or I apologize.
No,
he did in Dubai.
Right, he went.
But he's got Ortiz has ridden this horse. Velasquez has run with this horse. Pratt has won with this horse. I'm just surprised that he wanted Dettori for this mount instead of some of the other riders that are just right here.
There's a lot that goes into that. Okay, first off, Dettori won a huge race on this horse. Okay, when Dettori announced he was coming back,
not bigger than Pratt though.
Right.
I think the Saudi Cup's still more, right? I think it's the $20 million race.
Yeah, let me just look. Which one? Frankie, what did he win? The Dubai World Cup?
He won Dubai. That's where I forgot that Pratt had not ridden in Dubai. Pratt rode in Saudi, not in Dubai.
Right.
And the Dettori took the Dubai. So by the way, obviously Dubai World Cup, massive race. So I'm just surprised because you have all the big riders came in for this day. I'm just surprised, most of which had already ridden Country Grammar. I'm just surprised Bob ended up going with Dettori.
Well, like I said, a lot went into that. First off, when Dettori announced he was coming back, one of the things he publicly said was that he wanted to get Bob to put him back on Country Grammar, who he won the Dubai World Cup on. Bob obviously heard that. Frankie is a very personable guy. Bob is a very personable guy. There was talk when Frankie won that race that he didn't remember ever winning a race for Bob, or wasn't sure if he ever rode for Bob. So there wasn't a lot of history there, but they certainly made their mark in that race. And the two of them, collectively have won the biggest races in the world numerous times. So it's lack of a better term, use a cliche, it's a marriage made in heaven. It made sense for them. Frankie's book's going to be handled by Ron Anderson. He's one of the top agents, if not the top agent. It just made a lot of sense. I wasn't surprised by that at all. I won't be surprised if Frankie rides other horses for Bob over there during the meet. I don't know that he will, but I don't know that he won't either. But I would imagine that he will. And I think he's an exciting addition. And I think that the rider from Canada, Kimura, is an exciting addition as well. He can ride, you know what I mean? He can really ride. I think he's gonna strengthen that jockey colony and be another option for a lot of trainers as well. I'm assuming Pratt will winter there. I don't know where Rosario's going yet. He's there on the 26th. I don't know if he's staying there, going to Oakland like he did last year, or where he's going to wind up. But those two guys alone, Dettori and Kimura, are interesting additions to that jockey colony. With Pratt there, it is, Juan Hernandez has emerged as a, kind of a force over there now as well.
Yeah.
it's exciting. Mike Smith is still there hanging in.
Gotta love Mike Smith, man. I gotta tell you,
Listen,
he's the Iron Horse.
he's the Iron Horse. He's an incredible athlete when you think about it. You know what I mean? I mean, he's in phenomenal shape, but he's an incredible athlete. He's just, hanging in
Yeah.
really what has become a young man's game, riding horses, I guess always was, but
And talk about personable guys. I mean, it doesn't get much better than Mike.
you're right, extremely personable. And now you'll have him and Dettori in the room together. That's two really personable guys.
Yeah.
Umberto Rispoli, who I think the world of, is also
Love Umberto.
he's a very personable guy as well. It's an interesting jockey calling out
Friend of the show
California,
too.
for sure. Yeah, right. No,
Yeah.
he's been one of our first guests. So it's it's interesting, and they start off with a bang. I mean, it's a shame that you can't keep that kind of racing and those kind of cards going over the course of a meet. Boutique meets like Keeneland, very short in the spring, have a little better shot at it. Saratoga used to be able to do it when they were, strictly August. But it's tough.
It is.
It's tough to maintain that, but we've got a heck of a after Christmas Day card at Santa Anita, and we're going to talk about 3 grade ones, and an allowance race, which make up the late pick 4.
Oh yeah.
At Santa Anita, which is going to be, if nothing else, a very fun sequence to watch.
Very fun sequence to watch. It starts off with the Brea Stakes, grade 1, for the 3-year-old fillies, going 7 furlongs on the dirt, John. This is a Baffert race. We got 4 Bafferts in here. We got sprinklings of other well-known trainers. It's going to be really hard to buck Baffert in this race. Are you going to go against it, or are you going to try to pick one of the others?
I embarrassed myself on tracking trips last week. On tracking trips, they ran the Starlet on I think it was the Starlet. They ran, I think it was it? I forget which race it was, but they ran. No, I'm sorry. The Los Alamitos Derby, I guess it was, or Futurity. And Bob had, I basically said something like it should be the Bob Baffert Futurity. He's got 3 horses in there, just a question of which one's going to win. And somebody jumped up and beat them all. So I embarrassed myself a little bit there. He had Arabian Lion, had a couple of others, and he didn't win that race. And this race kind of looks like the same way. He's got 4, I think, in here, and
they're basically the 4 favorites too. So.
Right, and it certainly looks like one of them is going to win. I do think there's a horse that's not trained by him that has a shot, but when it comes, when I look at this race, I see plenty of pace. I think it's going to come down to the trip.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I see some pace in here. I see Hot Peppers, the 2 has speed. Ganadori, even though coming out of distance races, has speed. I don't know.
So I saw this race going one of 2 ways.
Okay.
I think my top choice will be Hot Peppers. I'm going to try to beat the Bafferts just because it's almost too. Because the thing is, it's so much value if you can beat the Bafferts. I don't think Hot Peppers is not going to take that much money. He's 8-1 she's 8-1 on the morning line right now. I think she'll float up probably to 10-1. And I know there's horses that have a little speed, but I don't think anybody's as fast as Hot Peppers in this race. So I see this race going 2 ways. I think either Hot Peppers takes an uncontested lead and runs away with it, or she gets pressured by, I think Ganadora is probably the only other horse I could see pressuring her. And if Ganadora gets in a duel with Hot Peppers, I really think it's Midnight Memories race. She's the best off the pace horse in my opinion. There's a couple others that could come off the pace. And I know Baffert's been putting in 6 furlong bullets to a couple of these other horses. So it's possible we could see somebody other than Ganadora show speed, but I really think it's going to be Ganadora going to the front. She's the one with the most 6 furlong bullets, $1 million purchase. Baffert clearly thinks a lot of this horse. So I think he's going to go Hot Peppers. If you're really this fast, you're going to have to prove it to me. I'm going to send Ganadora, and then I got 2 to 3 horses that can easily close off you. In my opinion, Midnight Memories is probably the best of those. So I'm going to play 2 in this race. I'm going to play Hot Peppers and Midnight Memories.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, if I didn't land on Hot Peppers. I wasn't sold. I thought she would be the speed of the speed and get the lead.
What'd you think of her in the test, John? Did you watch any of that replay recently? Her
Yes.
with Chi-Town Lady? I thought that
Yes.
was a really impressive race, and it's at the same distance and arguably against a better field. It's hard to know because some of these Baffords are unknowns, but I wanted to know your thoughts there.
I don't know that I'm sold that it was as good a field as we think it was. I don't know. I mean, you know, these are some lightly raced fillies late in the year that are just seemingly to me getting better.
Yeah.
You know, some of them had a little bit of breaks in their career when they had to move out of the Baffert barn and now move back into it. And it seems like he's kind of getting them in his program and getting them to really, you know, come around at the right time.
By the way, have you talked to Bob recently? Does he seem focused? Does he seem like he's back on the right track?
I saw him at the Breeders' Cup, and he was as focused and as Bob Baffert as he could be.
I was just curious. I obviously
listen. I think guys
traction,
that play the game on his level are always focused on this. I mean, I think they live, breathe, sleep, and just live horse racing. I think that's who they are and what they are. And you know, in an interview I did with Steve Asmussen at the Breeders' Cup, I asked him something about that, like keeping about, you know, how he keeps track of all these horses, and how he knows, you know, at, you know, some obscure track, which, you know, which one of his 12-5 claimers, as opposed to one of his grade 1 horses, you know, worked, you know, 3 furlongs and what race they're pointing to. And you know, he just laughed and smiled. And it was like, his answer was basically, it comes down to, you know, this is what we do. This is who we are. We love it.
Yeah.
This is all we do. This is what we live.
Which makes sense. I mean, because you have that memory too, John, from a handicapping perspective on horses, and just
I do. And when you know, you have that kind of passion for something, you know, you do that. So I would, you know, you know, Baffert at this stage of the game is a guy I would never worried about being focused, no matter what else was going on in his life. I think he would, you know, be focused, especially on these kind of races, on these kind of days. You know, he comes to fire. I did think that there was one horse, and again, I just didn't trust Hot Peppers, even getting the lead. Love Gaffleon, love him on the lead. You know, like Shippers coming in, like you know, that this horse really improved after they, you know, moved him to Rudy's barn from Spat's barn. No knock on Spats, he does a good job, but you know, she really stepped up this filly. And
she also stepped up off of Lasix. I thought that was really interesting too. And I keep bringing up Lasix in these big stakes races because some of these horses can't handle going off it. And Hot Peppers seem to not off the barn change as well, but also coming off Lasix, I thought was really impressive.
No argument, no argument. And she did, you know, fold last time under pressure, you know, not under an easy lead, but I just thought these horses were too fast to let her get away, and we're going to be coming at her hard on that turn. And I just wasn't sold she was good enough. The horse that I thought was interesting outside of Bob's horses, who I think all 4 of them could win. I agree that it sets up pretty good for Midnight Memories on the cutback, and she is dangerous. Ganadora, no knock on. Those would probably be the two Bob horses that I lean to. But Fun to Dream also looks like she's going to sit a perfect trip right outside stalking. You know, the other horse I thought was dangerous was Awake at Midnight. Awake at Midnight is another one turning back out of 2 route races. And she looks like she really likes Santa Anita. She looks like she'll appreciate the cut back to 7/8 of a mile. She's been competitive with this level of horse before. I like her 2 last works a lot. And I think that if we could get past the Bob horses where you wind up on the speed, I wind up on this one who won't be on the lead, but is more of a local horse. And I think we'll appreciate getting back to Santa Anita and getting back to 7/8 of a mile, 1 turn. Well drawn outside to not get in any trouble. If I had to get away from the Bob horses, that's where I would go.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that pick. I just get nervous when it seems like the connections don't know what to do with this horse. They've tried her on different surfaces, different tracks, every distance you can think of. And I get it. They're trying to figure out what the horse is great at. And it's possible that 7 furlongs hits her right between the eyes. Just for my pick, I thought I just like Ty Peppers a little better. I will say about what I do like about Awake at Midnight, it seems like she'll dance any dance, and she's going up against Open Filly Company a lot. So she's not doing a bunch of these state bred, and a lot of these horses are coming out of restricted races. It's the only thing that kept me off Fun to Dream. I really like that horse, and she'll obviously be coming off the pace. It's just hard because she's coming out of, optional claimers and state bred and a state bred race. So,
yeah, I mean, Awake at Midnight's coming out of, she's run against older 3 times. Now she's back against, 3-year-olds. I do like
exactly.
That.
Yeah. So if you're running against Open Company and you're willing to do it, and obviously O'Neill's great at that. So he's bringing her back.
Thing, you mentioned that he ran her in a lot of different kind of spots. And I look back at O'Neill, I like to watch trainer moves. Okay.
Yeah.
O'Neill does that. I mean, I remember that horse who comes to mind, Pavel, Pavel.
Oh yeah.
As a maiden, he was running in Milan and 8th grade 1s, then back in maiden race, and just he kind of really shakes things up and runs horses in different kind of spots, which I find extremely interesting. But he's successful at it. He does it. He makes a lot of noise, and he's in my book one of those guys that could always jump up and surprise you with a horse like this. So I really thought she was the one. Maybe you'll convince me to throw Hot Peppers on my ticket, because I'm gonna be able to afford to, because I'm closing this pick 4 with 2 singles.
Oh, so, gotcha. Yeah, the only thing with Hot Peppers is he can run she can run a sub 22. And the question is, can Ganadora do that? She probably can, especially after these 6 furlong bullets Baffert's putting in her. That's the question. Can somebody run a sub 22 with Hot Peppers? Because I do. I think Gaffleone is just going to send her and hope to hang on. And it's interesting too, because the only other 2 jockeys to ride this are Jamarillo and Saez, 2 of the best getting out of the gate. So if Gaffleone can do it as good as those 2 on the lead, Hot Peppers will be dangerous. I do like the more I look at Awake at Midnight, the more I do like her. Because you're right, O'Neill that is his calling card. He's willing to take chances. He's willing to experiment a little bit with these horses. It's just for a closer or an off the pace, I probably would lean a little closer to Midnight Memories or Fun to Dream.
Well, yeah, it makes a sense, but I think Awake at Midnight's going to be a lot more than the 8-1 morning line.
A lot more. I think she'll be higher than Hot Peppers for sure.
Yeah, she's coming out of the Breeders' Cup Distaff where she was beaten almost 50 lengths. Okay, and when horses get beat 50 lengths, it turns a lot of people off. All right, and I could see why, obviously, but it also increases the price significantly because of that. And if you look, although there's no freshening here, this filly ran a really bad race in the 8 bells at Churchill Downs on Derby weekend and got beat 21 lengths, freshened up a little bit and come back and win. So she can win. There's no freshening here, but she's got some really good workouts. She can win off a bad race. You know what I mean? She can bounce right back off of that, and she'll be a big price. So I just wouldn't leave her out. Coming back to Santa Anita, cutting back to 7/8. Cutting back to straight 3-year-olds, and knowing she's going to be of the horses we talked about, I think she's the longest price And I
Yeah.
don't think any of the ones we didn't talk about can win. So we'll see.
So last question before we leave this race. Is there any back for you're willing to throw out, or do you think you're going to be using all four?
No, I'm not. I'm with two singles to close. I'm not letting one of his horses knock me out. Sorry.
Yep.
Not gonna happen.
I can't blame you there one bit, man. That's
Yeah,
that would be rough.
Yeah. Not for me.
No, understood. Anything else with this race, John?
No. I'm ready to move on to the next one if you are.
I'm ready. So let's move on to race 9. So sandwiched in between all these grade ones, we got a really good allowance race, actually. Vale and Jonathan on the turf. And we are pretty deep in this race. We got 12 runners plus a couple also eligibles. You could go a lot of ways in this race, John. And if you're singling in the back too, I'm imagining you're spreading here.
I'm not that spread. No, I'm not that spread.
Very nice. Let's see what you got.
I'm gonna use 4 horses, but I'm gonna go back at 2 of them. You know how I bet. Ticket where I use everybody I want, then I use a second or a backup go back ticket I like to call where I kind of narrow it down.
Yeah. And one thing to keep in mind with this race is all the horses can use Lasix in this race because it's not a stake.
Right. So you don't
have to worry about that.
That to think about. But it's mile and 1/8 on the turf. The 4 that I'm going to use are the 3 ballet dancing, the 5 bat ya, the 6 bat ya, the 7 my favorite daughter, and the horse on the far outside, the 12 Karakatsi. Those are the 4 that I think can win the race. Okay. I'm a little worried about a couple of others. I worry about the 2 who might get the lead and get Brave out there, but I got a feeling they're going to come get her when the real running starts. But the 2 that I'm going to go back at, okay, and hopefully the 10 Leisure Wear keeps her honest enough to set it up for one of my horses that are going to be mostly coming from off the pace. But I'm going to use those 4. But the 2 I'm going to go back at are the 3 ballet dancing, who's second off the layoff, putting blinkers on, back on Lasix. Her 2 Lasix races were kind of good. One of them was really good. 3 Lasix races. 2 of them were really good. One of them was okay. That was at Del Mar. Back on Lasix, blinkers on. Dettori, we know he's going to be pumped up, looking to get some winners. If he doesn't win with Country Grammar earlier on the card, he'll be looking for that first win on opening card. And this just looks like an improving filly for me that's been in some decent fields, that's going to appreciate these kind of horses, and I think is going to make a nice late run here. I really do. The other horse that I'm going to use Bat Ya, like I said, because she showed some talent early on, long time ago, and I think she's going to be a little overlooked here. I think she's going to be longer than that 5-1, and I think that it may just be taking her a while to kind of find that ability that she had. Obviously, something happened. She must have had some kind of injury or something, but I think she's eligible to really come around again. And show that potential that she showed early on.
Well, we talked about Doug O'Neill moving horses around. Have you ever seen a horse do 6 different tracks in their first 6 races? I'm not sure I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, that's pretty. And
rare. I apologize, it's actually 7. So she went Belmont, Keeneland, Aqueduct, Laurel, Colonial, Del Mar, and now Santa Anita.
Right.
So I apologize. This will now be your 8th or 7th course in summer.
Yes,
amazing.
Never run at the same track twice, right? That's extremely interesting. I think you got to be crazy to leave out the 7 just because of the form that she's in. And when, Vladimir Serin gets them going good like this, they have a tendency to just keep running those good races.
Yeah, and I didn't realize he was a 23% trainer this year. I mean, that's you never think of Vladimir as like that elite, but man, that's off 150 races too. That's not nothing.
I like the 12 a lot also. I would like the 12 a lot more with a better post. But it is what it is. I mean, Joelle can, work out a trip as good as anybody, but she's coming out of some decent races as well. She's making her fourth start for George Papadromo. She's got, she should be acclimated there, now. And I think, she's very, very eligible here. I think she's going to run a big race. So the two I'm going to go back at are the 3 and the 12. But the big ticket's going to have 3, 6, 7, 12 on it.
Yeah, no, and I don't blame you there, John. It's hard for me to leave off some of the maiden winners. What do you think of Leisure Wear? I wanted to ask you about the D'Amato
I
horse.
thought she was the other speed, but
Yeah.
I tend to leave. Well, I don't want to say leave off. I tend to look for reasons not to use horses that just broke their maiden. I get the whole light bulb theory that a lot of people like to throw out there, and I will use one if I think that it's warranted. But I just think there's other speed in here. There are horses that have run with better horses in here, and I just didn't think she was going to be able to take these all the way, or sit off the horse Mike Smith rides and be able to put her away and then hold off some of these that are going to be running late, especially at a mile and an eighth. Maybe a mile and a 16th. I might have looked at it a little differently, or a mile. I might have looked at it a little differently. But at the mile and an eighth, I think that's enough time for the little classier, a little more experienced amongst the winners horses to run her down and run Mike Smith's horse down.
Yeah, I couldn't leave the 10 off. One thing is, I mean, she's got that European breeding on both sides, especially that Irish breeding. That I just can't imagine Leisure Wear won't like the distance. I think she might actually improve with distance. She drops from 125 to 122. I always like that. Could mean she's gotten in better fitness since then. And she's a 4-year-old late in the year. I go back and forth on the light bulb theory. I understand your skepticism, John, and I get skeptical of that theory too. I just think it's possible that she just needed races to get fit, and she wasn't doing terrible before that last race.
No, she was doing good, and there was a race a couple before that I really liked her a lot. I don't remember which race it was, but I think it was one of those Del Mar races where I really thought she was going to win, and she didn't have the best trip, but not enough for me to like her here. She's 0 for 3 at Santa Anita, 1 for 13 lifetime. I'll take a shot against her.
No, don't blame me there, but I'll definitely be using Leisure Wear. You did mention the 2. I can't leave her off either. It is a little concerning, her maiden's coming off a state maiden, but clearly has speed, is improving in distance or elongating in distance now. There's a lot of question marks with a lot of these other horses. And Precious Baby, I mean, if she improves at all, she'll be dangerous in this race too. So I'm gonna use Precious Baby as well. And I'm probably gonna end up going 4 deep here, John. I loved everything you had to say about the 12. I'll definitely be using the 12 on my ticket. Not gonna let Rosario beat me. And then the last horse I'm going to put on, I'm kind of going in between the 6, like you said, and the 3. And I'm going to have to dig a little deeper into those. It's hard to leave Dettori off of that 3 ballet dancing. Although, I mean, Rispoli is the last one to rode ballet dancing. And although Dettori's raced on Santa Anita before, and I think Dettori is obviously a much more seasoned rider than Rispoli, I'm not sure I want Dettori riding instead of Rispoli in this spot. So I might leave ballet dancing off and just end up going with the 12. But I'm going to wait to see how the track's playing to kind of finalize this race. This is the most wide open race, in my opinion.
Okay, interesting. What was your take on the Malibu?
Got the Malibu. I mean, I probably have a similar take as you, John. It's hard not to single Taiba here. I think Taiba might end up being like I think he might just end up being a great one-turn horse. I hope they campaign him towards the Met Mile next year. I think that, I mean, although he can run the classic distances, anytime he's gone more than a mile and an eighth, it's been a little bit of a challenge for him. So I think that 7 furlongs to call it a mile and an eighth is the perfect distance for this horse. I'm not sure what's happened to Messier. You know, Forbidden Kingdom, my take is I just think Forbidden Kingdom peaked early. I'm not sure if I think we've seen the best from Forbidden Kingdom. I'm not sure we'll see a lot of progression, but I could be wrong there. Messier, I don't know, man. I think Messier had too much too early with that Derby, and I'm not sure. I think it's going to take him a while to recover from that. And it just seems like something's a little off with Messier.
Well, he bled last time, and had to be walked off the track. That's he does like Santa Anita, and he's quote the other Baffert, and we know how that plays out often. But
yeah, if anybody can recover Messier, it's definitely Baffert. We've seen this race before with Messier and Forbidden Kingdom, and Taiba's only improved since then. So I don't know. Taiba gets a little lazy in the stretch, and somebody could come chase him down. But I'd be shocked if Taiba's not the leader at the 8th pole or at the 6th, or I'll rephrase. I think he'll be the leader at the 16th pole. If he gets a little lazy and just starts looking around like he sometimes does, Taiba could get run down like he did with Cyberknife. But I'll take my chances. I'm going to be single on Taiba here.
I agree. I would love to get past him. I don't think he can. One of my favorite angles with Bob's horses is cutting back. I mean, he's had good horses cut back and run monster races. I think McKinsey win the Malibu cutting back.
Gameen's got to be the best example.
Gameen. More Spirit in the Met Mile, cut back off distance races and then explode. I mean, when he cuts him back, and let me tell you something. Taiba's a fast horse. I remember when Taiba broke his maiden in 109 and change at Santa Anita first time out.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And when he ran him back in the Santa Anita Derby, I thought he's just going to go wire to wire. And he didn't. He won the race anyway, but he was able to sit off the pace and make a run. And I remember I think it was a pre-Derby interview I did with Mike Smith where he talked about that, where I was like, you completely fooled me taking him off the pace because I just thought he was so fast he would be on the lead. And it just showed the kind of talent the horse had early on,
Yeah.
The other thing is if he does win, okay, there's another interesting, footnote here. If Taiba wins the Malibu, he'll be the only 3-year-old this year to have won 3 Grade 1 races.
And that's crazy. Because if you ask people, was Taiba a success or a little bit of a disappointment this year? I think a lot of people would almost lean to the disappointment side. But you're right. I mean, that we're talking about 2 Grade 1s already.
I would say they would lean to the disappointment side only because there was so much expectation and so much hype after those first 2 races.
Yeah.
And then he didn't run well in the Derby, but a lot of horses don't. And it looked like, it was a hell of a lot very, very soon. He had to move, no knock on Tim Yakteen, but he had to move from Baffert's barn to Yakteen's barn. Went back to Baffert's barn. I think
I'll knock Yakteen, man. I mean, I'll never understand that 3 furlong work right before the Derby. I've never heard him explain it. It made.
You can knock him. I'll give him a pass.
By the way, I'm sure I'm not knocking him. I want him to explain that workout. I've still never heard an explanation.
All right, I haven't either, but it is what it is. But I think that Taiba easily could have won the Haskell and beat Cyberknife with a different type of trip, or had he been a little bit more seasoned for that race. His Pennsylvania Derby was, not a race that you would really knock. And I don't really knock his Breeders' Cup Classic because I think that, everybody in there was running to chase Flightline as it turned out. And he chased him as good as most of the others. Nobody was going to be Flightline. So I don't think, he was abused. I think he finished well. He ran his race. He probably got a little bit more experience and whatnot out of that. You know, he's got excellent workouts after that race,
Sure does.
including that, 112, and 59 that when you see from Bob, they're sitting on a race and on a cutback. I would have been a little bit more concerned probably and might have looked a little harder at trying to beat him if he drew inside. But he's drawn in the perfect spot in the 6th hole, going 7/8 of a mile. And, I just think I'll take what they give me there. And if he gets upset, so be it. I'll be out of that sequence. But
I do. I think he found his Colt Gamine. I think Taiba's just gonna, if they choose not to retire him, I could just see him showing up in all these grade 1 middle distance races.
I think they're
dominating.
going to run him next year, and he may wind up in the Pegasus or one of those the Dubai or the Saudi race. I don't know that they're going to keep him going short like you think. He's a gun runner. He's won at a mile and an eighth. He's run well. His Breeders' Cup Classic doesn't say he can't go to mile and a quarter. So I think he's deadly on the turn back, and I think they want to win that 3rd grade 1 with him.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know that they're going to keep him running short. They may, and it may turn out, you're right, that that's what he wants to do, and he's most effective doing that.
Well, if they run him, there's no way they don't take a shot at those Middle East races because it's too much money. If he gets set, who cares, right? So they'll definitely take a shot with him. But I think if they run him till next year's Breeders' Cup, he's a dirt mile. There's no question. I can't imagine they put him back in the Classic. I think they'd be silly to do that. Because I think he's gonna, and I think we'll see it after this race. I think we're gonna see this is a monster 1-turn horse. But I'm excited to watch it. Maybe I'm wrong, and that's what's great about horse racing is horses humble you, like you say.
They will humble you.
Before we move on to the next race, what do you think of Nakatomi going forward? Obviously Wesley Ward has turned this colt into a pretty nice colt. Obviously one last out at Keeneland. I don't know. I don't think he's anywhere close to Gamine, but an interesting horse.
Well, fast horse, and it's funny that that's the one that you decided to ask me about, because if you put a gun to my head and said, John, you can't bet Taiba or you have to use somebody else as well.
Yeah.
That's the other one that I would put in. So that, Nakatomi is my second choice. He's the only other horse that I had a hard time saying I'm not going to use. But ultimately I decided to, stand with Taiba. But he was the one that gave me the most difficulty in eliminating from my ticket.
No, listen, it's funny. Literally the first show we did for Past the Wire, I think I remember I was complaining about Wesley Ward not campaigning his horses when they get older, and he's actually done a lot better over the last year and a half. And I think this horse is a great example. He's campaigned Nakatomi really smartly, very patiently, almost like Shug McGahee, like I'm like, man, Wesley Ward, you're taking your time. It looks like you're getting fitness in this horse. And that's why I asked you about
like Wesley. I like Wesley. Yeah. A lot of people knock him. A lot of people you can only train 2-year-olds. You can only train 50. You can only
no. And I'm just being transparent. I was one of those guys, and I got to be honest. I'm starting to turn on Wesley a lot. I mean, he turned in the good way. I think he's really learning to be he's already an exceptional trainer, and I think he's really starting to learn with these older horses. And I would not be surprised if somebody upsets Taiba. I that would be my pick. He'd be my number two.
No, I agree. That's where I would land.
Awesome.
What's your take on the grand finale, the grade 1 American Oaks, 1.25 miles on the downhill Santa Anita turf course?
Yeah. So my take on this race, John, is I'm very impressed you're going to single it, because I think it's a tough one to single. I went narrow in the first and third legs, so I'm going to try to take some chances in this race, because 1.25 miles going down the hill, it's just going to be a weird race. A lot of weird stuff can happen. A lot of these horses haven't gone this far before. A lot of these horses don't have experience at Santa Anita, including some of the favorites. And I think there's some bombs even that you could take some chances with, and I'm going to do that. So um, if you want, maybe you talk about your single first, and then I can kind of go down the horses I'm going to take a shot with.
I'm singling the 9,
Mhm.
Salima. I think that
She's on my list. So
I think she'll love the 1.25 miles.
yeah.
Um,
And if I didn't say on top, this is a 1.25 miles for 3-year-old fillies down on the downhill turf. So and I apologize. Go with your handicap, John.
yeah, no, Chad sends horses there when they're sitting on big races. You know what I mean? He doesn't send horses there that are not sitting on big races. I think that she can prove to be the best filly coming out of this race, and can prove to be a little bit of a force, as a 4-year-old going forward. A lot of people tend to shy away from the Chad Brown horses that debut at Tampa Downs, and that's a mistake.
Huge mistake.
Chad likes the Tampa turf course and runs horses that he likes there. There's issues with the Gulfstream Park turf course at times, and a lot of times, trainers avoid it and run at Tampa, and people think that they're, sending second stringers over there, and I don't think that's the case with Chad at all. I think this is a nice filly. I think, she's going to be running at the end, man. I like that Pratt rides her. He's 1-for-1 on her. She handled the Winter Memories just fine without Lasix. Was no problem at all. I think she's the horse to beat. There's a couple in here I think can run, but I've got concerns with all of them.
Yeah.
I've got concerns with all of them, the second most intriguing horse to me might be the 7 Skims, Shug's horse. Shug's doesn't.
Yeah, that'll be my top choice. I agree with you.
Ship out there a lot, and she is a Frankel. Johnny rides her. She's a little bit dangerous, but other than that, I think that Chad's horse is better than the rest of them. If I had to use 2, I would throw Shug's horse in, but I don't. I can, take my shot with Pratt just finishing a little bit better, going that 1.25 miles. I will say that Pizza Bianca has been a little bit of a mystery to me this year. I thought she would come back good.
Very weird campaign for her.
Skims handle it pretty easily off that little bit of a layoff. Then they ran her out here, and I thought, that was really a heck of a big price for her. She really got no respect in the matriarch, and didn't really run that well. She was kind of finishing okay, but I was disappointed in the way that she ran. So I don't know that she's ever really wanted to be a 1.25 mile horse anyway. So
I thought it was an interesting placement by Motion right off of the barn change, going back into a grade 1 across the country,
yeah.
at 1.25 miles across the country. And then he gets and then he gets to Rispoli to ride, who we love. So I don't know. I'm with you. Pizza Bianca could easily win. I could never pick her though. She's such an odd horse to handicap. I think she's really unpredictable. So especially off this barn change, and you don't see Graham's not a super aggressive trainer. He places his horses well. So that should be a plus for Pizza Bianca, but man, I just can't get there. I'm with you, John.
Yeah, so I like the 9. I'm going to take my shot there. I think she'll run a big race here, and that's it. So I'm 2 singles to close. I'm not going to go as far as to say I've got to get a price in the first 2 legs, because my ticket's not going to be that deep. So it's not going to be a huge paying ticket, but if you have it multiple times, and it certainly can can wind up worthwhile. And I think the last race being as wide open as it is and taking a single there will give me a shot. You know what I mean? I don't think, you know, there's going to be anybody that's a heavy favorite in that race. I'm not even sure who
Yeah.
the favorite is going to wind up being, to tell you the truth. I don't know if you think you know who the favorite's going to be, but
Oh, I think Salima will be the favorite. I
you
don't think
do
there's a question.
really.
Oh yeah, I mean it's Brown, it's Pratt, improving 3-year-olds, comes off a massive race at Aqueduct, open length wins in the last two. It'd be hard. I'd be shocked if that's not your favorite.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be, but okay. I can see her being the favorite, but I don't know.
You think Brendan Walsh's horse might go?
I think that's a possibility. I think there were a couple of possibilities, but
Yeah, I mean, it could be Bell Street Birdie, but I think everybody's going to see the obvious, which is Pratt jumps off and Mike Smith comes on, and no knock against Smith, but he's not in the form that Pratt's in right now. So,
well, Pratt's the guy right now. There's
Yeah.
no question. He's taking the top seat. Although I could argue that Irad is giving him a run for the money. In that area, you know, breaking the stakes record and whatnot, and just
Mhm.
you know, showing up every day. Yeah, I would argue that Irad is right up there right now. That those guys are sharing the top seed.
absolutely.
That's a 2-seater, and those guys are both in there. But good day of racing, man. I'm excited to watch some of these races. I'm
Me
excited
too.
what Taiba does in the Malibu. I'm very
Yeah.
curious to see how the Clips voting goes.
Me too. Oh, real quick, can I give the horses I'm going to use in this race?
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
Why
So
we're
we
here.
already talked about Skims. I'm going to go 4 deep. We talked about Skims and Salama. I'm definitely going to use those two. Skims will be my top choice. I love how he's been Sugar's campaign Skims. Racing basically every month this year. It's clearly fit. Took a nice break in November, and I think this will be Skims' best race. It's just a question if it's good enough, but I can't leave Skims off. And then I'm going to take 2 big shots with the Diamato horses, starting with the 11 School Dance. There's a lot to like about this horse. First of all, 15-1 on the morning line. I can only imagine it goes up a little bit from there. She's had 2 open length wins since the barn change. She's improving. She's got experience at Santa Anita, and I don't think the distance will be a problem. She's out of an Animal Kingdom and an English Channel mare. So I think the distance will hit her right between the eyes. I like going from the outside because I just think a lot of horses will get caught up on the inside going into that first turn. So although it's a rough post in general, I think being out of the way of everybody else might actually be a benefit. So I'm going to use School Dance, and I don't think that's a 15-1 shot that I legitimately think could be 6-7-1. I legitimately think that horse has a shot.
All right. I listen. I don't never knock or tell anybody not to use a Phil D'Amato horse, especially in California. So don't expect me
Exactly.
to try and argue out of that.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to take one more flyer on Oakhurst, 30-1. Look, she's 30-1 for a reason. I get it, but she's always in her races. She was previously with Chad Brown. D'Amato gets her, started training her in California. And I apologize. Went to Michelle Nevin first and then to D'Amato. We've seen D'Amato do this so many times where he takes horses out of great barns, brings them to California, and just gets improvements off of aggressive placements like this. And this horse I think will be able to handle the distance. Has raced, a mile and 3/16 before, and a mile and 1/8. Has been able to race without Lasix, which I think is a huge plus here. And I don't know, just for a 30-1 D'Amato horse in a race, I think it's just going to be weird coming down that hill. I think there's worse shots you can take. So I'm going to go 4 deep with Skims, Salima, and I'm going to take 2 long shots and hopefully get one of those home.
All right. Sounds like a plan. My ticket's not deep at all. $20 for $1, so not a deep ticket at all. Doesn't have to you know, pay a fortune if you have it a bunch of times and you're right, you know, so we'll see what happens. And you know, if I get lucky with a horse like Awake at Midnight, or one of the go back horses win the second leg, could wind up in a decent position. And you know, you got to play the hands you're dealt. I like playing these kind of cards, and sometimes that just puts me in a position to have to take, you know, narrow tickets and deal with it, you know, deal with it as such. But I don't mind. I've been doing it a long time and I enjoy it. So
Absolutely.
thank you for tuning in, Michael. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, John.
Have a Merry Christmas. Any special plans for the holiday?
You know what? We got the in-laws in right now, and then later in the week we're going to be going to my parents. So my wife is 8 months pregnant, so we're going to be expecting our second son soon. So we're really excited about that. It'll be a good Christmas for us.
All right, man. God bless, and
Thank you.
all the best. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great Christmas. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back right after Christmas with you know, more interesting stuff. And enjoy. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now.
History remembers moments of extraordinary strength, skill, and determination. True greatness is forged by those who fulfill their destiny.
Everybody, Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator exclusively on DRF Bets.
Nobody does it better.